to have equity in the company, you could not get a return. You could not get your money back because that would violate the SEC's rules about securities. And so prior to that point, basically everything was donation based. If Andy wanted to create a company building those beautiful wood flags, right, the plaques behind him, he would go on Indiegogo and say, hey guys, if you want to donate $25 or $50, I will send you one of these when I'm done with them. And I will also tell you thank you. And you could receive things like that, product, hats, shirts, thank yous, things of that nature. Well, in 2016, the laws changed and they ushered in something called Regulation CF and Regulation A, which allowed anyone, unaccredited investors, to actually invest in companies that filed with the SEC and went through this process to get qualified by the Securities and Exchange Commission, which basically meant that anyone could really own stock in a company that did this. And so that's what we did. We went through the process. There's background checks and audited financial statements and, setting up companies in Delaware and things of that nature. And then the SEC, while it doesn't approve you, they say what's called qualified, which means you've checked all of these boxes. And kind of we went out. And so Called Hire Studios, our intention is to go spread the gospel through film and TV. And it is owned by approximately, I think it's maybe 7,000 or 8,000 investors currently right now. And so they actually own stock in the company. They have shares of the company. I think today, I think the public crowd owns close to maybe 40, 50% of Called Hire Studios. We always intended for the crowd to own a majority of Called Hire Studios. That's just the way we built it. And so that opportunity was somebody could invest $100 and they would buy shares in Called Hire Studios. WeFunder and Start Engine are the portals that are very similar to Indiegogo and Kickstarter, but they're qualified by FINRA, they're qualified by the SEC to really just manage all of that, right? So they manage the contracts and the escrow and the things of that nature. So we've been really, really, really blessed to have raised in excess of, I think, $2 million. Like I said, we're owned by over 7,000 people, Christians, I say investors, all across the world. And, just from a 1,000-foot view, Andy, we just wanted to get a bunch of Christians together who wanted ethical family content. Let's go make it together and let's go scream about it. And so that's what we did. I have two partners that helped me found Called Hire Studios. One is named Ash Grayson. Ash had a company called Ribbo Media and really was one of the premier marketers in the faith-based world. I think if you look at the top 10 highest grossing faith-based films in the past 20 years, Ash has worked on 5 of them. God's Not Dead, I Can Only Imagine, War Room. There's so many great ones that Ash kind of had his fingers in the marketing on. And so that was, great for that. And then our other partner is a gentleman named Philip Glasser, who's done over 40 movies, really grew up in the industry. When he was 4 or 5 years old, he actually got cast by Steven Spielberg as the voice of Fievel in An American Tale. And so Philip was a child star and then got into production and foreign sales and has done, movies like Agent Cody Banks. The last one he did was The War with Grandpa, which was, I think, the last PG-13 movie or PG movie that was out in theaters with Robert De Niro and Uma Thurman. So just, they do movies at a really, really high level. And so that's kind of the team. Philip is also a Messianic Jew. And so, that's the team that we have in place. And then we added the 7,000 investors. And so, we've been off and running. We currently have an offering open right now. And we just finished our first movie, your first movie, Andy.
Yep.
7,000 other investors' first movie.
You want to tell them a little about Camp Hideout?
Yeah, Camp Hideout really is it's a movie that was birthed out of me sitting on my couch and watching my kids. I think they were 6 and 8 at that time. 6, I'm sorry, so maybe 7 and 9 at that time. And we let them watch Home Alone. And I just remember them falling off the couch, when these two guys got beat up by Macaulay Culkin. And they were just laughing so much. And then over the course of the next few weeks, I bet they watched that movie 10 times, 15 times. And it hit me that, if I ever want to talk to my kids or implant a seed, it has to do with physical comedy. You have to get them in, you have to make them laugh. We can make a 90-minute movie, which is basically a 90-minute sermon to kids. They're going to lose interest, and you're not going to have the opportunity to really, instill something in those kids. And so, we developed Camp Hideout. Great cast. We ended up getting Corbin Bleu from High School Musical, Amanda Layton from who's on the hit show This Is Us. We also got Christopher Lloyd, who is my favorite to work with, who was Doc Brown in all of the Back to the Future movies. And so really just a great movie. We had a great group of kids that were in the film. And really it's about a 13-year-old orphan named Noah, who was on the wrong path. He was working and pulling capers with these two goons that were criminals, very similar to Marvin Harry in Home Alone. And he takes something from them by accident, but they think he did it on purpose. So now he had to go run. He has to go run and hide. So he ends up running and hiding at a church camp. He thinks it's very lame. It's not really his cup of tea. But over the time, these kids and counselors at this church camp really start to break down his walls and his barriers. Well, at the same time, these two guys are trying to find out where he is, and eventually they find him. And he finds out that they know where he is. And so he wants to run away because he wants to protect all of his new friends. But they basically show him the love of Christ and say, hey, we're going to take up for you. And by the way, when these guys get out here, we got you. And so the last third of the movie really is, Home Alone, where these kids are beating up on these guys, in just some crazy ways, from, paintball guns to booby traps. And it's just it's a great film. I think they would make the entire family watch it, the entire family laugh. Kids are going to have a great time watching it. And at the same time, if you pay attention, you're going to get to see those little sprinkles of Christ through the movie. But it's not so on the nose where we turn people off or turn kids off. And so we're very excited about it. The movie was just completed a few weeks ago, little tweaks in color and things of that nature. But it is out right now, and we're looking, and we're hoping that in the next 30 days we'll be able to come back and tell everyone where the home is going to be for that film, and so where everybody can go see their first movie.
So we don't know yet if it's going to be theatrical release or a streaming release or any of that. That's what you're trying to.
That's what we're doing right now, Andy. Yeah, we're going through, and it is with a couple different studios. It's also with a couple different talent agencies, and then we're also looking at the option of if we put it in theaters, what is the potential cost of that and the potential risk reward. So once we evaluate all those things, then we're really hoping to that we'll be able to come back and let people know here in a month or so.
Yeah. So this will be the actual first release. You've got a couple of others already in development that investors can jump in and at some point reap the rewards. I want to back up real quick before we get into your future projects.
Yeah.
In the crypto space, they want to get in and get out, make 10, 20, 50%, 100%, 1,000%. And it's a fast-paced game for a lot of people. Investing in called hire studios would be a little bit different type of investment. So they're not going to get a return tomorrow. They're not going to be able to watch and next month pull 20% or anything like that. So you want to just guide them on the type of investment.
Yeah, Andy, that's a great point. Regulation CF and Regulation A, which is really Regulation Crowdfund, is really brand new, right? In 2016, the laws changed. It took a little while. 2018 is really kind of when it took off, and it's really just exploded the last 2 or 3 years. But there were really no secondary markets, right? There's not a NASDAQ or an S&P 500 or a pink sheets for crowdfunded shares. Now, we'll say, I believe it was last year, Start Engine created something called Start Engine Secondary, was the first of its kind, which is a market where people can go and actually trade crowdfunded shares, which provided some form of liquidity. But you're absolutely right. when you're trading on Robinhood or you're trading on crypto, you can buy that morning and sell that afternoon. This is not that type of investment, at least not yet, right? These types of investments usually are a little bit longer because there's a little bit less liquidity, and you're really investing in early stage companies. We've always said that Call It Our Studios had a 5-year plan. We're in year 3 of our plan. If you factor in COVID, we're really kind of in year 2 because no one really could see that coming. But it was always going to be a 4 or 5-year plan. And so people ask me, well, how can I potentially see a return? Dividends would be one way, right? If we were able to build the company and get it in a great financial place where we could actually send out dividends, that's an option, very similar to other stocks that you have, where if you own certain shares of stock and we did, a 25 or 50-cent dividend, we just mail you that check or send it to your account. So that's one way. Another way is if we were to go and list and try to go public, whether that is on the penny stocks or tries to go up to a NASDAQ, right? There's an option for us to go and potentially do that in the future should management try to do that. I will let you know that, we're not allowed to say if we are or not, in the future. So there's no plans for that. But that would be a potential way that your stock would become very liquid. And then, Andy, very similar to crypto, you would be able to trade and sell that stock instantaneously. Another way is if we were acquired privately, then they could actually take the company back private and send out checks to the other owners. Or if we were acquired by a publicly traded company, kind of same thing. It would be either a cash deal or there may be a potential stock swap. But in either case, you would either have cash or our investors would get stock in the new company or the acquiring company that would potentially be traded, and that would also provide liquidity. I will tell you this, early stage companies inherently, are what they are, right? It's very difficult to build a business. And then, the field that we've chosen in the film and TV world is a very competitive space, especially in today's market when, there's so many people out there who are trying to squash freedom of speech. They're trying to squash, conservative values, family values, ethical values. And so we know that, there's an opportunity for us to go and really get in the fight. There's some great companies here, just moved to Nashville, that have done, very, very good in this space. And so, we're excited to be here and doing it, Andy.
And it's like you say, it's mostly about spreading the word, and you've added other companies outside of the movie industry or the entertainment. I guess books is entertainment, but you've started a couple of other companies that anybody who invests has invested also in these other companies. You want to share those?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things about movies is when you look at the life cycle of a movie, it really does this, right? When you sell the movie, there's revenue and then it comes back down. And then it may be another year or 2 years before you actually do another movie until you get ramped up and hopefully you're doing, 1 or 2 movies a year. And so because of that, your cash kind of looks like this. And so for us, we really needed to stabilize the cash flow and look for opportunities. And so we incubated 2 companies that were very, very overlapping in our potential audience. So we started doing something called Big Art Books, which is a children's book company. And we had our first book called Ella Is Chosen. We did our second book, which is Jackson and Super Sight. And so children's books is another way that we can accomplish our mission of spreading the gospel, but then also have some physical product to be able to sell and to try to get cash in the door and really kind of, lay a foundation for the company. The second one is an e-commerce jewelry business. My family's been in the jewelry business for 28, 30 years. We own multiple stores, fine jewelry stores in a couple different cities. But this jewelry business really is an e-commerce business that is in price points, of $50 to $300, and we sell everything online. Our investors own those businesses. Call Hire Studios essentially owns those two businesses 100%. So if you're invested in Call Hire Studios, you really, because of the structure, own everything that we do. So all of our movies that we do, you own it. Our YouTube channel, Call Hire Studios owns it. Big Art Books, Crave, which is the jewelry company, you guys own it. If we do future movies, they all own it. And so everything really just flows up into Call Hire Studios. We're required by the SEC to really be open kimono, right? We have to do audited financial statements. We have to do semi-annual reports. And so everything that we do has to be put out there for everyone to see. And another thing that we're really looking at doing now, Andy, because we've had these two companies that we've incubated, and they're beginning to throw off some revenue. But we're also looking at acquisitions right now. We're looking to go and acquire some potential companies that are in our space, which really allow us to get revenue and cash flow through the door fairly quickly with an established company. And that is something that we're actively doing and actively looking at right now. We've talked to a few target companies, and we've been going through that process. But we really are looking for ways to grow the company, but also to provide a way for our investors to see return, a financial return. We all talk about the spiritual return and the emotional return. And at the end of the day, we know that what we're doing is important, right? Bringing the gospel to kids and really trying to tell stories that impact people's lives. We know that's our ultimate goal and something that we want to do. But we also know we have a responsibility to try to provide a return to our investors, because our investors are the soul of the company. They are the very thing that allows us to even be here today and trying to do what we're doing.
Okay. So let's talk about your near future endeavors. You've got the Ann Beeler story, Byler. I'm not sure if I'm said it right.
Yeah. So Ann Byler.
Byler.
And that is probably it. Yeah. I love that story so much. I don't know if anyone really knows that story, but Ann Byler is the founder of Auntie Anne's Pretzels. And I think when she ended up growing that company, I think it ended up being over 1,600 locations. But when you talk to Ann, she grew up in Pennsylvania as an Amish Mennonite. 8th grade education. Went through some of the most traumatic things that I could even imagine. I mean, can't even really imagine. At the age of 23, I believe, they all kind of work together on a farm, and they have houses that are near each other. Her little girl, who I believe was around 2 years old, Angie, went out in the morning to run across the field to her grandmother's house. And Ann's younger sister, Vi, I believe, worked the bobcats and fed some of the livestock, and tragically ended up running over Angie. And Angie died when she was 2 years old. And so that really sent Ann into, a deep depression. She went to the local pastor for grief counseling. And during that time, he ended up taking advantage of her. Come to find out, he took advantage of 6 or 7 different women in the Amish community there. And that's real life, and in this life, we it says we're gonna have struggles, right? Ann had those. And this is a story about how at any given time, her and her husband Jonas could have called it quits. I mean, they were on the rocks, and really Jonas had the opportunity to leave the marriage, and Ann did too, but they stuck it out. They stayed together. There's some great storylines and really some miracle moments that happened over that time. But in my mind, it's really a story of real life, and how Ann and Jonas decided, hey, we know there's some bad things that are happening, but we're still going to try to stay close to God and do the best we can. And because of that, their marriage was healed, her life was healed, and God ended up blessing her with a business, with an 8th grade education that went on to make millions and millions of dollars. And I don't want to say that I never say prosperity gospel or anything like that, that, hey, if you stay close to God, God's going to give you, $1 million business. But in this particular story, I believe that, Anne chose, very similar to Job, right, to stay close in all those times, and God rewarded her. And I think that's true for a lot of people. It may not be $1 million business. It may just be a closer walk with Jesus. It may just be a better relationship with your kids. It may just be that you get a little more patience, right? Or you may get whatever it is. And so I just love it. And it's a great story, and really a great marriage story about, a lady who built really this empire. And she will tell you that it had nothing to do with her. It was 100% God, and just, that story. And so I'm really excited. We just attached the director, Sherry Rigby. If you look up Sherry's been in a lot of the Kendricks Brothers movies. She was in October Baby. She she just finished directing her first film. I think it was Identity Crisis. Just a beautiful soul, and I think we really tapped the right person to tell Anne's story. So right now we're looking and talking to different writers to put that story together. Anne speaks. I think she was just on the stage in Atlanta with Tim Tebow and the Benham brothers at Life Surge. So she's an author. She's a speaker. She's out there and telling her story. But we have really high hopes and are really excited about that film.
She's very inspirational, to say the least.
I know her pretzels have put a few pounds on me,
Andy. Absolutely. Every mall you go to. And then you're working on, I haven't even heard too much about it, other than it's come to me as it is going to be an epic. And
is that the Grace of Christ?
Yes. Like I said, you haven't really talked too much about it, but that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, the Grace of Christ. It's a story that's very near and dear to my heart. It is definitely our biggest film. When you look at budget range and setting, it is definitely on the budget and quality and setting that the story really needs to be told of. Very similar to the Passion of the Christ. We've kind of went back and forth. I mean, this is a budget that probably is in excess of $10 million to do it justice, right, and to do that movie right. It really deals with the penitent thief on the cross, and so it's another way to talk about the God story and the Jesus story, but through a different lens. The script was written by Brian Ball, who has written a couple great scripts in the past. He did the movie on the Columbine shooting. I Am Not Ashamed. Just done some great things. It's probably, I'm very focused on the Ann Beeler story because it's the next one up right now, right. And it's the one that we're working on. But the Grace of Christ, just, being honest, and in my opinion, it could potentially be the biggest movie that Called Higher Studios can do. And if we do it right, and we have some favor, in my opinion, it could be the most successful in all areas of reaching people, having a spiritual ROI and a financial ROI. And so we're really excited about that film. It's something that we're really, on the success of The Chosen. When you look at stories there and set in that time, we're really excited to bring that one to the screen.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited for the Ann Beeler story, but I'm also excited for that one.
I just wish it went faster, Andy.
Come over me that it needs to get done.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And the reason that I wanted to share this with people in the crypto space is to kind of let them know there's more than crypto out there that you can invest in, that you can support. My particular token is a charity token, and I don't want to say that Called Higher Studios is a charity in any way, but you want to give to something that has a purpose, that has a mission, and you may wait a while for a return, but you're getting more in return than you could ever know. Just like you talked about Ann Byler, the things that she's gone through, has God used her through all those trials to say, look what can happen, not the financial part, but just have faith in me. It's all going to work. And how many different people you're going to reach through this medium. It's just phenomenal. And that's why I supported you to start with. And I think I was probably one of your earlier investors, and I haven't thought, when am I going to see a return? I've thought, okay, when is Camp Hideout going to be released?
Looking back, I'd have to go back and look. You may have been number 3.
Oh, I didn't realize that early.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I have to go back and look. I know I invested first just to say I did it, and to put my money where my mouth was. And I think I made my wife do it. And then after that, we kind of opened it up to everybody else.
Wow.
But I will say this. Andy, you hit the nail on the head, right? In my opinion, I think God's plan is to take broken people and help them, and then have them use their stories to go help other broken people, right? And if you look at the Bible, that happens over and over again with people's testimony. And Ann is out there doing it, right? Like Ann can sit down and have a conversation with a woman who has lost a child or has been through a similar infidelity situation. Jonas can sit down and have a conversation with a husband, and one-on-one, because of their stories, they can cooperate with God, right? God doesn't really need us, but they can cooperate with him in healing marriages, right? And
Absolutely.
just putting together broken pieces. And so for us just to get to tell that story, we're really just, a shepherd in that sense of it's already there. Our job is just to put it together and, to tell it and scream it out a little bit more. And you're right. It's, you're getting a potential at a return on your investment. But we have so many people, who just invest because they say, look, I want you guys to make good stuff for my kids and my grandkids. I'm tired of the stuff that my grandkids watch. Some people want to invest because they want to be in the movies, right? And they want to be in it. And we actually had, I think it was 7 or 8 people, even during COVID, we had to get them tested and things like that nature. They came on set. In Camp Hideout, I think there's 6 or 7 investors that are in the movie, that we put in the movie. And, there's opportunities for people to do that. We have people who send us scripts. We're still kind of working through that process. But, there's people who are producers on our movie. People who want to say, look, I want to be in the industry. And so this is a way for them to kind of be into something they always wanted to do, potentially be in a movie, be an extra in a movie and things of that nature, for very little money, relatively, speaking. And it's just something they want to do. And then on top of that, the potential for us to do good and, potentially give you guys a return on your investment, over the next couple of years is kind of what we're gunning for.
Yeah. And I had actually planned, my wife and I planned to be in Nashville.
Yeah.
But when the testing and the masks, and I thought, nope, I'm on the right side of things. So
yeah,
my attitude wouldn't allow me to go.
Here's the thing. I'm right there with you, Andy. And just being honest, the only reason we had to do it, right, is because in order to get those actors, we had to sign a deal with the Screen Actors Guild.
Right. No, I understood that part of it.
Yeah. And to do that, they actually had people on set and they had people watching, because, they're trying to protect their actors. And so, we had to come in and, and test. And it's that's a whole different podcast, Andy.
I was excited to get back to Nashville. I've been there since 2010 when we had done a show with TBN, and
oh yeah,
I was excited to get back. So, and we went in the opposite direction.
Well, if you just want to get here sometime and grab dinner, let us know. I think this year NRB is going to be. I can't remember if it's in Nashville this year coming up, or if we're going back to Dallas or going back to Texas. But I think it's in Nashville again.
Yeah, NRB is something that everybody should be taking a look at. It's an awesome organization.
Yeah, NRB's great. It's
not too far from me, but I couldn't get a way to get to it. But yeah, it's everything is focusing on just spreading the word. That's your primary goal. Uh, you've got the studios, you've got Big Art Books, and by the way, I got both books in the necklace, I think, here a few months back
Yeah.
for my granddaughter. She loved it all. So she was 8 at the time. I think she got it. It might have been 7.
uh,
I can't remember when I got it for her. But yeah, it's been a while, but she absolutely loved it. So the books are right for that age, and she enjoyed reading it. She can read it now with, no words too big, too small for her.
I
So
was trying to say, in that book, Ella's Chosen, there's Chewie in there. My dog's running around there somewhere. So, that character was based on Chewie. And so, if you look at it, that's him.
I have to show her. I think you've posted pictures on Facebook or maybe the Call High
Yeah.
Studio Facebook page. So I'm gonna have to show her that and let her compare and let her.
Yeah, tell her to let us know how we did.
Yeah, there you go. I thought she was going to be here tonight. I would have called her up and let her tell you that she enjoyed the books. But
Oh, that's great.
I had a couple other questions that I was thinking. I didn't write them down. But if anybody does have any questions, feel free to put it in the comment box, whichever string you're looking from. We should be able to see whatever questions you have, and or any statements you want to make. If you're an investor, let us know. And it's been fun talking with you. I wanted to get people involved. I only share things that I think is a good investment. It's just a good business to support, is a good cause to support. I think we're going to be doing one here shortly with a national charity, or a couple of them actually. But the first one I'm real excited about. I've supported them for like 3 years now, and I want to bring good to the internet. There's all kinds of bad, but we need to highlight the good stuff. And to me, this is much more than an investment. And I think most of your investors see it the same way.
Yeah, we sent out a survey, Andy, on why you invested. And, just being honest, the number one answer wasn't to make money or return.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it ranged, really from spreading the gospel, which obviously we knew was going to be at the top. But what really got me, like I said earlier, was the amount of people who said, I want to be part of making good stuff for my kids and my grandkids.
That's it.
And they were thinking generationally. So they invested basically saying, I want to be able to say I helped make something that was ethical and good for my kids and my grandkids, because there's just so much, bad stuff out there. I mean, it's sad. It's sad the fact that I have to take my kids' iPads, every couple nights and look and go through their history and look and see, because it's so easy on the internet for them, at no fault of their own, to get served an ad or to get served a link where they can just get taken off, and then you look at, Netflix and cuties and things of that nature. There's no shortage of smut and stuff that is out there to, that's just, it's not good in our opinion. It's not ethical. It's not good. And it's, filling people's minds with, stuff that they probably shouldn't be watching. So we can't stop them, but we can get in the fight. We can go make other stuff, and we can do our best. So
we have that free reign, and we have that choice. That we were given that. But the kids, we need to have more options for the kids, and we need to try to keep them. Mine are grown and gone, and grandkids now. But yeah, it's so different now than when we were kids.
Oh, absolutely.
I was so, as the older I get, I still see things like I had no clue what that was when I was a kid. Never heard of. Never, we were sheltered without even being sheltered. And now it's how much can they put in a kid's face to program them, to desensitize them. So yeah, it's a constant battle.
And they're not hiding it either, Andy. I mean,
Oh no,
they're very open about it now.
yeah,
You
they
know, when
they
you
push
look
it.
at Disney, when you look at Disney
Oh,
and some of the other people, I think, they caught the girl who literally said, "Oh, we just try to put, we try to put, homosexuality and everything. We just try to get it in there whenever we can."
well, I
Thinking
know
that's just their goal.
through somebody I know, a producer, and I said, or a writer producer for a major hit television series. She's written for several. And I said, well, you know what? When you go talk to her, tell her this leading thing over here, it's not necessary. It does nothing for the show. Da 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 da. He said, I did. I asked her why, and she said because the networks require it. If you want that show to be on the network, so the sickness is coming from the top down, and people have to make that living. So I mean, I don't want to get so deep into it that they actually have to sell their soul to make that living, but you got to do what
There's a
you
lot
got
of
to do. But it's just like, why is it so? Disney of all companies to be, yeah. You get me on my
I think
soapbox here real quick.
Walt is Walt's rolling over, I think.
Yeah, and it's
there's a lot of box checking in Hollywood. You got to have this, you got to have that, you got to have this, and it's a box check so that people don't say anything. Oh, it looks like somebody's got some comments up here. Are there any stories on how you got Corbin and Doc Brown? Oh yeah. You know what? Believe it or not, I don't want to paint Hollywood and all actors with a broad stroke and say that everybody's bad. It's not true. You got people like Chris Pratt that are out there who are very open about their faith. If you haven't seen Terminal List, I don't know if you're a military guy, but that's the article I was
watching it. We're watching it right now.
Yeah, on that. And so, you have people like Chris Pratt, but I think you also have people out there who may not be believers, but they just want to make good ethical content. Corbin, when we sent him the story and he read it, he just loved the fact that it was positive towards kids. And so, we saw that as an opportunity to kind of witness to Corbin and to have some conversations with him. And so we were just really blessed in that sense. But yeah, Corbin was just attracted to the material, right? I mean, obviously, actors want to work and get paid, right? That's their job. That's what they have to do. But, a lot of people, who are out there, one thing is you got to be able to pay them so that they can fly in and actually make a living. But actors like Corbin, they say no to a lot of stuff because it's just not good, right? I think, Corbin got a couple horror scripts and things of that nature. And, it may be a payday, but, he didn't want to be out there slashing people and, and doing stuff like that. And so we really got lucky that Corbin was just attracted to the material. We really got lucky that he got, right after he did our movie, High School Musical brought him back. And so he was kind of playing a counselor. And so he's kind of back in the limelight, which really worked out. Same thing happened with Christopher Lloyd. Phil, I got to give credit where credit's due. Phil Glasser has been in the industry 40 years, and he actually knew Christopher Lloyd's agent. So that started a relationship there. And so we went out and just talked to Christopher, and he wanted to do it and, could. And so he came in, and then right after, he got put on The Mandalorian. And I think is making a couple guest appearances kind of in the Star Wars show. But yeah, so, Christopher and Corbin, first off, they have to like the script, but I think there's actors out there who just like doing good, wholesome stuff, right? I'm going to put myself in their shoes, right? I'm sure there's a lot of actors out there who are probably believers and they're put in this position. I can't really publicly say anything about my faith because I'm not a big enough actor like a Chris Pratt or somebody like that, and it'll jeopardize my career. And so, they're put in that position, right? I think there's a lot of actors out there who hold a lot of values that we hold. who may just be a little afraid, to go out and really publicly say it for fear that they're just not going to be able to do what they love and do that craft. And so, I'm holding out that, there's some good eggs out there.
But it used years ago, you got, I don't want to insult anybody, but you got the B and C actors to do faith-based movies. And now you've got A-list actors all over the place doing quality faith-based films. So
Well,
you're opening an avenue to give people that choice. And I think as this grows, then more and more people are going to be able to tell Hollywood, this is not this is not the quality I want. I can go over here. I can get just as good a salary or close to it. I'd rather do this. And Hollywood is going to be forced to make a change. I just believe it at some point.
I'm praying for it too. And if you go back even further, Andy, and you look at old Hollywood, they were built on those films. You look at films like Ben-Hur, and you look at, a lot of those old films that were biblical epics, right? Hollywood used to do those films, and then I don't know what happened, but I do know what happened, but they used to do these big epic biblical films, and I really hope it's a pendulum that swings back, because and here's the thing, there are called our studios, right? We're out here trying, but there are other people out here doing great things. The Irwin brothers, they're doing great things.
Oh, sure.
With God's Not Dead and I Can Only Imagine, and excellent storytellers and filmmakers. And so we're not alone. There's a lot of people out there who are trying to put out good stuff. And so hopefully we just keep knocking on the door, and hopefully Hollywood changes a little bit and it swings back, and hopefully it's good for us.
Yeah. My daughter was an extra in Camp Hideout on several different days. She had never heard of Christopher Lloyd, but was so excited about Corbin Bleu. So you're multi-general in one movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We had kids that loved Corbin, and then parents were like, can we get a picture with Christopher?
Christopher Lloyd's always been a favorite. So,
if you watch any of the Back to the Future stuff, Doc Brown, he's such a great character.
Taxi.
God, you're taking it back.
Yeah.
Taxi. He was great in Taxi.
But I used to be excited when they were originally aired, I can't remember what night now, but it was a must-watch show, because you didn't have all the ways to watch that you do now. But you had to be home to watch Taxi.
Yeah, we got so much stuff now.
Is your goal to shoot the majority of your movies in the Nashville area?
Brad, that's a great question. The answer, here, I'll give you two answers. Selfishly, I would say yes, because it means I get to sleep in my own bed, and I get to lay my head on my own pillow, and I get to see my wife and kids. Economically, it's probably not the case. Whenever you're producing a movie, and the number one thing, obviously after story, spreading the gospel and making sure you're telling the story the best they can be told. When you get to the economics, the number one thing is, how do we make sure this is a success, right? Because otherwise you don't get to do it again, right? Tennessee's tax incentives aren't the greatest in the United States. And so we've talked about this a little bit, but I'll kind of tell you, if you're making a movie, and just for round numbers, say it's $1 million or $10 million, the numbers really work the same. There's really two markets that you can sell your film. The US and Canada is what we refer to as the domestic market. And then everywhere else, which is, I think, 180 territories from, Italy and the UK and Mexico, become your international. The third component of that is a tax credit. So in Tennessee, I think if you spend $1, you may get 18%, 16% of your entire budget, because some people will allow you to count above the line and some will not. Above the line is like your big expenses, actors, directors, things of that nature, unless they're from that state. And so you're always looking at, okay, what actors in the movie get me the best international and domestic sale? But then that third component is tax credits, right? Canada, for a very long time has been one of the leaders to go and film a movie. And the reason why is with the exchange rate with the US and the Canadian dollar, a lot of times it was very advantageous. You could take a US dollar and go and almost get it, to a $1.30 or $1.40. You gain so much economics just by going to Canada. Then Canada and some provinces will give you anywhere from 35 to 40% back. So people who go and film there, if you film $1 million in Canada, it's worth more because you're going there, and depending on the exchange rate. But hypothetically, say it's not. If you go and spend $1 million, their government will give you $350,000 back or $400,000 back through a tax incentive program because you're stimulating the economy and getting jobs. In the United States, Louisiana had one of the best tax incentives for a very, very long time. Very similar, like 30%. Georgia has a very, very good tax credit. That's why you see movies like all of the superhero movies, the DC and Marvel movies that go and spend there. When they go spend $100 million on a movie and they get $30 million or $35 million back from Georgia, that's a huge chunk of their money back to try to make that film a success. So a long way around to answer your question, Brad, is we go where the story can be told. Obviously, if it's a beach story, you can't go film it in, the Smoky Mountains. So we first got to find a location that fits the story. But number two is we really chase tax credits and where it is the most economical to make the movie. But that's a great question.
See, I had no idea that movies got that windfall back. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Every state, Florida has no tax incentives. Tennessee, and here's the reason why. Tennessee is trying to do it, right? You have so many people from Los Angeles who are moving to Tennessee, especially in the entertainment industry. But Tennessee has no state income tax. And because Tennessee does not have a state income tax, it's very difficult to track because when you go to Georgia, they know if you hire this many people that are Georgians, and that is some of the requirements. You have to hire this many people from Georgia. It's very easy to see, right? Oh, you paid these people this amount of money and this amount of income tax, and this amount of taxes are coming to the state. We're willing to give you some of that back because you're spending on hotels and things of that nature. With Tennessee, it's a little different, right? It's difficult to do that, and so they're trying to do it through some different mechanisms like a franchise and excise tax and payroll taxes and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, Tennessee has a good credit, but it's probably not in the top 5 to 10 states to give those credits back. I would say right now, Canada is really great. Malta, believe it or not, which is a little island south of Italy, probably has one of the best tax credits in the United States. We were just looking at the economics of a different movie that was an airplane movie. And I think it was $10 million to do the movie. In Malta, you could almost get $4.5 million back, I think. I'm sorry, it's $14 million to do the movie. And I think it was $5 million that you got back from Malta. That's a big chunk just for going there.
Yes, it is. That'll cover a lot of the expense.
Yeah. And then in the United States, Oklahoma's got a great one. Louisiana has a great one. Alabama, believe it or not, has a great one. They just don't have a lot of crew there. God, there's so many great states that have those programs.
So there's multiple factors to look at. Regardless of where you want to film, you have to go with what's best for the budget and the actors.
Absolutely. That's the thing. If you film in Los Angeles, your chances of getting great actors dramatically increase because they get to go home at night, right? You don't have to fly them anywhere. A lot of actors live there in Los Angeles. You can call in favors and get people in your movie really a lot cheaper because you don't have to travel. You don't have to go anywhere. The downside about filming in California, Los Angeles is there's virtually no tax incentive, right? Unless you're $100 million movie, but if you're not at that level, the state of California is not going to give you anything. So, they're out there spending all that money fixing the homeless problem and everything else. So,
okay, do you or will you have a partnership with a streaming service?
You know what? We're open, but we're pretty agnostic in the sense of where we want to sell our movies, right? You know, we would hope that someone like a PureFlix or a streaming service that has some family values, would love to buy our movies. But if a Paramount Plus or a Hulu, wanted to purchase the movie, we'd be happy to do that. As far as having a partnership, that may be something I've heard through the grapevine that there are some new streaming services that are being developed by some pretty big players in the faith and family space. Really excited about that. I'm hoping that it comes to fruition. But someone like that, if we had a put deal where we got automatic distribution for a couple slots on something like that, and we worked out a partnership, we'd do that. We'd do that in a heartbeat. So yeah, is it Shannon? Yeah, that's a great question.
All right. And Benny's never heard about this studio. Y'all been around. You started filming Camp Hideout. I think you were going to start in March or April, and then COVID.
Yeah,
So it
COVID
actually
pushed us.
started. It was late summer last year when you started actually filming, wasn't it?
Yeah, we actually had to film right after summer because we had to use a summer camp.
Right.
And the thing about a summer camp is during the summer, they got a bunch of kids there. And so I think we ended up doing it right at the late part of summer, going into fall, because we were really praying and hoping that the leaves didn't change too much so that it, wasn't
And
a fall camp movie.
That was kind of interesting too, because you had a slot set and then something happened, so you had to move it even later.
Yeah.
But it's an actual. Is it? It's a church camp, or
Yeah, great camp in Tennessee called Deer Run.
Deer Run.
Deer Run, near and dear to our hearts. A gentleman named David Gibson started that. Really, I'm not going to do the story justice, but he felt like he went out to this property and felt like God told him he was supposed to buy it, had no money, and was supposed to do a camp for kids. And he just went for it, right? And ended up buying this property. And today, it has multiple, I think 30 cabins on it and a lodge. And I think they have over 3,000 or 4,000 kids every summer come through. I think last year they had 182 kids give their life to Christ in baptisms.
Wow.
They never turn anybody down for finances. So if you try to go to that camp and you can't pay, they will give you a scholarship. They literally bus kids in from low income areas. And so for us, it was great that we got to film at Deer Run because A, we love Deer Run, and B, we wanted to bring awareness to Deer Run, and we wanted to partner with them. And so when you see Camp Hideout, there is a different camp. We actually cut the deal with them to try to be a 90-minute commercial for Deer Run. So that's the name of the camp. So when you see the bus, it's going to say Deer Run on it. When you see the lodge, it's going to say Deer Run. Our goal and hope is people see this movie and these kids go, is that a real camp? I want to go there, right? Because we want to help bring people to that camp. And so that was a cool, exciting thing that we got to do. But yeah, Deer Run Camp in Franklin, Tennessee, or Spring Hill, Tennessee, right there. It's phenomenal summer camp. If anybody's watching, you have grandkids or kids that want to go, I would say check it out. If you have high school kids that want to volunteer, they're always looking for volunteers, and they have watercraft, or they have paintball guns and zip lines and just a ton of stuff that you can do out there. I wish that I had those types of summer camps when I was little.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ours about up, so I want to let you help people or show them, tell them where to go if they're interested in investing. And I can bring up the WeFunder page if you want.
Yeah, perfect. So, Benny, this kind of answers your question. Never heard about the studio. So, thank you for joining. I'm glad you got to hear about it. If you want to learn more, our studio is called Hire Studios, which is CALLED, and then Hire is HIGHER Studios. Our website is just calledhirestudios.com. If you go to our website, you can learn about our company. If you actually want to invest in our offering, our offer, the SEC and FINRA make you host your offering on a third-party platform that they have checked and the code, and they just want to make sure that it's very good and protects the investors. And so our platform is WeFunder. You can go there, you can hit invest, you can learn, read about everything. You can see questions that other people have asked. That is actually on WeFunder. To get to this page, you would either go to WeFunder and in the search column, just type in Called Hire Studios, or you can actually go to our website, which is calledhirestudios.com, and there would be a little button in the menu that says Invest, and if you click that, it will forward you right to this page, and you can learn more about it. And if you have a question, you can ask a question there, and I'll be happy to get in and answer that. So.
Awesome. So for those that are in crypto or even in Willard Enterprises, I did a really bad video. Not that would hurt, but I just wasn't very good at what I was doing back then. I did one for I have a different company outside of crypto that is an investment in other stuff, and I think a few people did invest with you last year after I did that video, and I just want to highlight it again to let them know that you invest now, you're in the same position as somebody that invested a year ago, I believe, or you can correct me if that's not true. But yeah, it's as far as once you have a very successful movie, and I believe you talked about that at one time, the rate where you have to produce so many movies for one to break out, or I guess there are statistics out there on that.
Yeah, the statistics really are what we learned in film school. If you look at studios do very, very well, and the reason they do very, very well is because A, they're well capitalized, but B, they don't do one-off movies. They do slates. And so what we were taught, was 7 movies. It's very, very similar to an investment portfolio, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You want to get different stocks that are in different sectors that kind of equal themselves out. But on average, right, over 7 movies that are done right and well produced, 4 of them may lose money, 2 may break even, and 1 will break out and be successful. And normally that 1, the profits are good enough to wipe out the losses for the other 6. And so that's why you see people like Relativity Media and Legendary, when they were doing all that, is they would go out and raise money for these slates because they know, very similar to baseball, it's all about at-bats, right?
That's it.
Where the stories that you hear of people losing money on a movie or something like that, at least in my opinion, what I've heard a lot is people are very close to their own story, right? And they want to tell their movie, and they go raise money from family, and they just go and make it. And there's really not a plan there. A lot of people don't even take tax incentives, into account. Phil likes to say this all the time. There should never be a movie where you lose 100% of your money, right? Because even if you do it poorly and you go to a tax incentive state, you're almost guaranteed to get 25 to 40% of your money back, right? So you should always get 25 to 40% of your money back, no matter what you do. And then if you put, great actors in and the story's good and you're able to get foreign sales, and these people will actually give you pre-sales, right? They'll look at your movie and say, okay, with this script and this actor, we believe we'll get you X, Y, and Z. Some people believe in it so much that they'll give you what's called an MG, which is a minimum guarantee. And if they do an MG, that means they're going to write you a check no matter what you do. And so, you may get up 40% into 60 or 70%. We never like to try to go into a movie unless it's, kind of pre-sold and in that mechanism where we at least know we get 50 to 60% of the money back, no matter what. Right. And so, that's kind of the mentality that we have. But yes, it's all about at-bats. And so the more movies that you can do, you give yourself, that opportunity to really hit some singles and then, have that big win. Is the studio available for rent or filming? Oh, so currently right now, our studio really isn't there's two different things, right? There's a studio that's a company is just a studio that makes movies and puts stuff together. But then you have some of the big studios that have very large warehouses and space. We don't have very large warehouses and space where we've built stages yet, and so there's not really a space for us to do that. Most of our movies that you'll see us do will be on location. So when we go make the Ann Byler movie, we'll be in Pennsylvania, maybe depending on the tax credits, or we'll be somewhere that looks like Pennsylvania. And then, with the grace of Christ, more than likely, that will have to be shot overseas, kind of in that Israel or Italy area, Malta, and things of that nature, to really get that look. A lot of the same places where the Passion of the Christ was filmed. And are we open to secular movies? We are open to secular movies with a caveat. Called Our Studios isn't going to go do a horror movie. We're not going to go do a rated R movie that that we just feel is bad. Our idea of a positive secular movie would be something that is a feel-good movie that has good ethics and at least biblical principles. The Blind Side comes to mind, right? Great film about the Toohey family. A film like that is something that I think, we could really kind of sink our teeth into. And so I think those are the types of secular movies that we would want to be a part of.
Okay. Got her name right.
Hey, you're welcome. It was a shot in the dark. I'm glad I got it right.
Jason, we've gone a little over an hour. I really appreciate your time. And I just want everybody to know Jason didn't ask about being on here. I bugged him about doing this because I wanted to share Called Hire Studios with you. I wanted to bring them to more people. Not that they need my help, but as he grows, we all grow. And the faster that they get the funding to do the things they want to do, the faster they can produce even more. It's a big cycle. And I want to go to the baseball analogy with you before we end this. You take your three best batters. Your first three at bats are usually your three best batters. Yeah. I think you're going to prove the statistics wrong. I think Camp Hideout is going to do very, very well. I think the Ann Byler story is going to do even better. And then your Home Run is your third movie, and it's just you're going to blow it out, and people are going to be going, "Where did they come from?"
All right, record this. Andy said it today.
But thanks for updating everybody. I think there are people on here that support what you're doing, and they're going to be here every time. But you've got a lot of new people. And
I will answer this last question then, if you want me to, Andy.
Okay.
Because it's a great story. So where did the name come from? My father was 33 years in the military. Spent 5 years in Vietnam. Been in multiple theaters. Shot, stabbed, jumped out of airplanes. And so about 7 years ago, lost him, and he went, ahead of me to heaven. And so, it's a club I never hope anybody, joins. But, it's just a very difficult time, right? For me, grieving the loss of my father. There was a song that really I listened to over and over and over that really stuck with me. I think in those times you either get closer to God or you run away, and I was very fortunate I kind of ran closer. But there was a song called "Called Me Higher" by All Sons and Daughters, and so that's a song that just stuck with me and was in my head for a long time. So you fast forward 3 years later, when we were looking for names for our studio, maybe that was just a seed, that God planted then. But that's where the name of the studio came from. Was really, and in that song, it just says, "Look, you can stand there and you can wait on God, or He's called you higher, and you can go, you can go after it." And so, that's what we did.
Awesome. Jason, I am grateful that you took the time to be, especially on a Friday night. I know you've got a family you want to get to. Would you like to close us out in a word of prayer?
Absolutely, I would love to.
I got my hat here.
Dear God, I just want to come to you and lift up Andy. I want to lift up everyone on the stream. Dear God, you're a good God, and we're so lucky to even have the opportunity to do these things. Dear Lord, we know that you don't really need us to accomplish your will and to bring your kingdom on earth, and that it's a blessing that we get to do it with you. And that is the blessing, dear Lord. So I just want to lift up everyone on this call, everyone on this video chat, and just lay them at your feet, dear Lord. If there's any prayer requests or needs, dear Lord, you know them. They don't have to be spoken, dear Lord. Dear Lord, I lift up Called Higher and the 7,000 to 8,000 investors who have put their hard-earned money into Called Higher Studios. I pray that you put a hedge of protection around us, that you would give our management and our leadership wisdom, that you would give us eyes to see you and ears to hear, and that you would draw us closer to your will, and that we would just seek you in everything that we're doing, dear Lord, and that Called Higher Studios, if it were to be blessed and do well, it would be because you get all the glory. And so, God, thank you for everything and all the success that we've had so far. We know that it has nothing to do with us, dear Lord. It has everything to do with you. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been a part of it, and that you would watch over everyone. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Awesome. All right, Jason, thank you so much. Reach out anytime if you got anything special. Folks, I know you got a YouTube channel, but you've got Facebook where you update pretty regularly. You do video updates on what's going on. I invite people to join that as well. And yeah, I wish you the best. I'm excited to see what the future holds for you and the studios. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
We'll have to do it again, Andy, and give the update. So, all right, guys, y'all have a great Friday night.
God bless everybody.